Sarah never noticed the smell at first. Not until 3 nights after Disneyland. A strange sweet smell, like burnt sugar mixed with something rotten. It only appeared whenever Leo stood near her. At 2:13 a.m., she woke up and found him standing beside the bedroom mirror in complete darkness. Not moving, not blinking, just staring at his own reflection, and softly humming that same unfamiliar melody. Then, without turning toward her, he whispered in a voice that sounded slightly doubled. "Sarah, do you ever feel like something came home wearing your skin?" The mirror fogged from the inside, and for 1 second, his reflection smiled before he did. The first real nightmare started after Chloe's phone call. I sat frozen in the bathroom, gripping my phone so hard my fingers hurt. Outside, I could hear Leo moving around the kitchen. Cupboards opening, closing, opening again. Slowly, too slowly. "Sarah?" Chloe whispered through the speaker. "Are you still there?" "I remember him staying outside," I said shakily. "I remember it clearly." "So do I," Chloe whispered. My stomach twisted. "What?" But now, her breathing trembled. "Every time I think about it, the memory changes." The bathroom suddenly felt freezing cold. "I think something happened in Phantom Manor," Chloe continued. "Something bad." A cabinet slammed outside. Both of us jumped. "Sarah," Chloe whispered urgently, "does Leo still hum that tune?" A chill crawled down my spine. "How do you know about that?" Silence. Then quietly, "Because Mark started humming it too." My blood turned to ice. "What?" "He says he doesn't notice it, but he hums it in his sleep." A floorboard creaked outside the bathroom, right outside the door. I stopped breathing. Slowly, carefully, I looked downward and saw a shadow beneath the crack of the bathroom door, standing perfectly still, listening. "Sarah?" Chloe whispered. "Lock the door." Click. Too late. The bathroom handle slowly began turning. I backed away silently. "Leo," I called weakly. The handle stopped moving. Then his voice came softly through the door. Except it sounded wrong. Not sick. Not angry. Imitated. "Sarah." Two voices spoke together. One deep. One slightly behind it. "You've been in there a long time." Every hair on my body stood up. "I'm fine." Silence. Then, "Do you remember the ride?" My throat tightened. "What?" "The mirrors," he whispered. My pulse exploded. The people inside them. The bathroom light suddenly flickered. Once. Twice. Then completely died. Darkness swallowed me whole. I heard Chloe screaming my name through the phone. Then, a soft scratching sound came from the mirror beside me. Not outside it. Inside it. I turned on my phone flashlight with shaking hands. And almost screamed. There were fingerprints on the inside of the mirror. Thousands of them. Pressed desperately against the glass. And in the center, someone had written a message. Using what looked like fingernails. "He took your place." I stumbled backward, hyperventilating. Then the mirror fogged again. Shapes slowly appeared behind my reflection. People, crowded together in darkness. Their mouths hung open silently, begging, and standing among them was me. Same face, same clothes, but smiling unnaturally wide. The thing inside the mirror slowly lifted one finger and pointed toward the bathroom door. The handle began turning again, slowly, creaking louder. I couldn't move. Then Leo spoke again, except this time, the second voice answered first. "Sarah." Scratch. Something dragged across the outside of the door. "We know you remember now." The lights suddenly came back on. The mirror was normal again. No fingerprints. No writing. Nothing. I gasped for air. "Sarah?" Chloe cried. "What's happening?" I looked toward the door. Silence. No shadow anymore. No movement. Then my phone buzzed with a new text message. Unknown number. I opened it. Attached was a blurry photo taken inside Phantom Manor. A doom buggy. Darkness. And sitting inside it was me, smiling directly at the camera, while beside me sat something wearing Leo's face that I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that photograph again. The empty black eyes. The thing wearing Leo's face. And the real Leo trapped inside the reflection. By morning, I had convinced myself I was losing my mind. That's what fear does. It starts slowly eating logic. The kitchen smelled strongly of coffee when I finally came downstairs. Leo stood by the counter making breakfast. Completely normal. Too normal. He smiled warmly when he saw me. "Morning." I froze. His voice sounded right again. No doubling. No echo. Just Leo. Sunlight poured through the windows, making everything feel stupidly ordinary. For one pathetic second, I almost laughed at myself. Maybe stress had broken my brain. Maybe Chloe was panicking too. Maybe the picture was fake. Then Leo turned back toward the stove and started humming that melody again. My stomach dropped instantly. Low, slow, almost childlike. Except every few seconds, another voice hummed slightly behind him. Not harmonizing, following, like an echo delayed by half a second. I quietly opened my phone and recorded it. The moment I pressed stop, the second humming vanished. Leo turned around immediately, smiling. Why are you recording me? The way he asked it made my blood run cold. Not angry, curious, like he was learning how humans reacted. I just liked the song. I lied. His eyes stayed fixed on mine for a little too long. Then he nodded slowly. I don't remember learning it. That sentence haunted me all day, because he sounded honest, like he genuinely didn't know where the melody came from. Around noon, Chloe called me crying. It happened again, she whispered. What happened? Mark. Panic flooded her voice. He stood outside our bedroom for nearly an hour last night. A cold shiver slid down my spine. What? He was just standing there in the dark, smiling. I couldn't breathe properly. When I asked what he was doing, Chloe continued shakily. He said he was waiting for the other Mark to fall asleep. Silence filled the line. Then quietly, he laughed after he said it. Every muscle in my body tightened. Chloe, I think something came back with us. No, she whispered. I think something stayed there, and we brought copies home. Before I could answer, Leo suddenly appeared in the living room doorway. I nearly screamed. He hadn't made a single sound. How long had he been standing there? I didn't know. Who's that? He asked softly. Chloe. His smile twitched slightly. Tell Chloe I said hello. The way he said her name felt disgusting, like he'd tasted it first. That night, I made an excuse and drove to Chloe's apartment. The entire drive there, I couldn't stop checking my mirrors. Because twice, I thought I saw another car following me with no headlights. But every time I looked properly, the road was empty. Chloe opened the apartment door before I could knock. She looked awful. Pale skin, bloodshot eyes, like she hadn't slept in days. Mark sat on the sofa watching television. At least, I thought it was Mark, until he turned his head toward me far too slowly. His smile stretched wider than normal. Sarah, he said cheerfully. His voice echoed too, exactly like Leo's. My chest tightened painfully. The TV flickered behind him. Static briefly swallowed the screen. And for half a second, I saw Phantom Manor. Not the ride. The real building. Dark. Rotting. Old. Dozens of human shapes stood motionless outside it, watching. Then the image vanished. Mark stood up. Every movement looked slightly delayed, like someone controlling a puppet with invisible strings. You remember now too, don't you? He asked. I stepped backward instinctively. Chloe grabbed my arm tightly. Sarah, she whispered urgently, don't let him near mirrors. Too late. Mark suddenly looked toward the hallway mirror and froze, completely still. The apartment became silent. Then, the reflection moved before he did. My heart nearly stopped. Mirror Mark slowly smiled wider. But the real Mark wasn't smiling anymore. He looked terrified, actually terrified, like he finally understood something. Then the reflection raised its hand and pressed it against the glass from the inside. Crack. The mirror shattered violently. Mark screamed. Not a human scream. Something wet and animalistic tore out of his throat. Black liquid exploded from his nose. His body collapsed onto the floor, twitching violently. And from inside the broken mirror, a hand reached out. Long fingers. Too many joints. Skin stretched backward. And then another hand appeared beside it. Something was trying to crawl out. Chloe started screaming hysterically. I grabbed her and ran toward the front door. Behind us, glass kept breaking. Mark's voice echoed through the apartment in two different tones at once. One begging, one laughing. As we reached the hallway, Chloe suddenly stopped dead. Her nails dug painfully into my arm. Sarah, she whispered. I turned slowly, and my blood turned to ice. Standing at the end of the apartment hallway was Leo, still wearing the same black hoodie from Disneyland, smiling calmly, except his shadow behind him wasn't copying his movements. The hallway lights flickered weakly above us, buzzing, dying. Leo stood perfectly still at the far end of the corridor while his shadow twisted unnaturally behind him across the wall. It moved too slowly, like it was underwater. And worst of all, it kept smiling even when Leo stopped. Chloe's nails dug into my wrist hard enough to hurt. "Don't talk to him," she whispered shakily. Leo tilted his head. "What's wrong with you two?" His voice sounded normal again, almost comforting, but the shadow behind him suddenly stretched upward, its neck growing longer, its arms bending backward. I felt bile rise in my throat. "Sarah," Leo said softly, "come here." The shadow copied him half a second later. "Come here." Two mouths, two voices. I grabbed Chloe and backed away slowly. Leo's expression changed instantly. Not angry, confused, like a dog watching its owner panic. Then from inside Chloe's apartment, Mark began screaming. Not words, just raw agony. Wet pounding sounds echoed against the walls. Crash. More glass shattered. Leo slowly turned his head toward the apartment door and smiled wider. He opened one, he whispered. The hallway lights suddenly died. Complete darkness swallowed everything. Chloe screamed beside me. Then footsteps exploded toward us from the darkness ahead. Fast. Too fast. I grabbed Chloe and ran blindly toward the stairwell. Behind us, something slammed against the walls while laughing in two different voices. One belonged to Leo. The other sounded deep and broken, like rocks grinding together underwater. We burst through the stairwell door and nearly fell down the concrete steps. Above us, the hallway door began shaking violently. Bang, bang, bang. Something slammed against it hard enough to bend metal. Chloe sobbed uncontrollably. "Oh my God, oh my God." Then came Mark's voice from the other side. Weak, crying. "Please." I froze. "Sarah, help me." Chloe grabbed me instantly. "No, but that's Mark." "No, it isn't." Another bang hit the door, harder this time. The metal started denting inward. Then came Leo's voice. "Sarah." Soft, gentle, almost loving. "You left us inside." My blood froze solid. The stairwell lights flickered, and suddenly, someone stood below us, 3 floors down, watching, tall, completely black, no face, just a silhouette shaped vaguely like a human being. Except its limbs were wrong, too long. Its arms nearly touched the floor, and it was humming that melody, the same Disneyland tune. Slowly the thing began climbing upward, not walking, crawling. Its joints cracked loudly with every movement. Chloe started hyperventilating. "We need to leave." The thing climbed faster, its head twitching violently. I pulled Chloe downward toward the parking garage exit. Behind us, the stairwell door upstairs finally burst open. A horrifying scream echoed through the building. Not human. Dozens of voices screaming together at once. We ran. Concrete steps blurred beneath my feet. The humming got louder. Closer. Closer. Then suddenly, silence. Everything stopped. No footsteps. No screams. Nothing. I slowly looked upward. The stairwell was empty. Both the creature and Leo were gone. Only darkness remained. For one tiny second, relief flooded me. Then Chloe whispered, "Sarah." Her voice trembled violently. I turned toward her. She was staring upward at the ceiling above us. My stomach dropped. The creature was crawling directly overhead, upside down, its limbs bent around pipes and concrete like a spider. And now I could finally see its face, or what should have been a face. It looked unfinished, skin stretched tightly over shifting features underneath, like multiple human faces trying to push outward from inside it. Eyes appearing, disappearing, mouths opening beneath the skin, whispering. The thing suddenly stopped moving. Every hidden face beneath its skin turned toward me simultaneously. Then all of them smiled. The creature dropped from the ceiling. We ran screaming into the underground parking garage. Car alarms exploded everywhere as we sprinted between vehicles. Behind us, the creature chased us on all fours with horrifying speed. Its bones snapped loudly every few seconds. A car window shattered beside my head. A hand nearly grabbed my ankle from underneath a parked van. Then suddenly, a horn blasted. Bright headlights flooded the garage. A black SUV screeched around the corner toward us. The driver's door flew open. "Get in." It was Mark. Or at least, it looked like Mark. His face was covered in blood, one eye swollen nearly shut. But he looked terrified. Human terrified. The creature behind us shrieked violently and disappeared back into the darkness. Mark shoved us into the SUV. "Hurry." The moment we slammed the doors shut, he accelerated out of the garage. Nobody spoke for nearly a minute. Only heavy breathing filled the car. Finally, I whispered, "Mark, what happened to you?" He kept staring at the road. They aren't copies, he said quietly. My stomach tightened. What? Mark's shaking hands gripped the steering wheel harder. They're replacements. Cold dread flooded my body. In Phantom Manor, he whispered, there's another ride beneath the real one. The car suddenly hit a bump violently, and from inside the trunk, something knocked back twice. The knocking came again. Bang, bang. From inside the trunk, Chloe screamed. Mark nearly lost control of the SUV. Don't open it, he snapped immediately. My pulse hammered violently inside my ears. What's in there? I whispered. Mark didn't answer. Rain lashed against the windshield as we sped down the empty road. Streetlights flashed across his blood-covered face in short bursts. Every time the light hit him, he looked different. Not physically. Worse. Like his expression kept changing half a second too late. Bang, bang. The trunk shook harder. Something inside scraped against metal slowly. My entire body locked up. Mark, Chloe whispered, trembling. What did you put back there? His jaw tightened. I trapped one. The air inside the SUV turned ice cold. I stared at him. What? He finally looked at me, and I instantly wished he hadn't. Pure terror lived inside his eyes. One of the things from the mirrors. The trunk suddenly thundered. A distorted scream echoed from inside it. Not loud, muffled, like someone screaming underwater. Then came a voice. My voice. Sarah. I stopped breathing. No, another knock. Then Leo's voice joined it. Please let us out. Chloe burst into tears. Mark accelerated harder. They mimic memories, he said quickly. Voices, emotions, habits. They learn people by watching them. The thing in the trunk scratched violently against the metal. They aren't human anymore, Mark whispered. How do you know this? I demanded. Mark looked sick. Because I saw the second ride. Lightning flashed outside. For 1 second, the inside of the car turned white. And in that brief flash, I saw someone sitting in the back seat beside me. A woman, pale skin, black hollow eyes, smiling directly at me. Then darkness returned. The seat was empty. I screamed. Mark slammed the brakes suddenly. The SUV skidded violently across the wet road before stopping outside an abandoned gas station. Rain hammered the roof. Nobody moved. Then slowly, Mark turned toward us. There's something beneath Phantom Manor, he whispered. His voice shook badly now. When the ride stopped, the lights went out for a few seconds. His hands trembled uncontrollably, and I saw another track beside ours. Cold dread crawled through my chest. Another track. Mark nodded weakly. It went downward. The trunk let out another horrifying bang. Metal bent inward visibly. We weren't alone down there, he continued. There were other doom buggies moving in the dark. My stomach twisted. With people inside, Mark's face lost all color. No, silence filled the SUV. Then quietly, things wearing people. The scratching inside the trunk stopped instantly. Complete silence. Mark looked terrified now. Don't move, he whispered. A soft creaking sound slowly came from above us. I looked upward carefully and nearly vomited. Something was crawling across the SUV roof. Slowly, its limbs bent unnaturally with each movement. Water dripped down the windows as long fingers dragged across the metal overhead. Scrape. Chloe buried her face against the seat, crying silently. The thing stopped directly above me. Then tap, tap, tap. 3 tiny knocks above my head. Like it knew exactly where I was sitting. The trunk suddenly burst open behind us. A horrible shriek split the night. Mark screamed, "Get down." The rear windshield exploded inward. Black liquid splattered across the seats. Then something grabbed Chloe. Not fully, just her hair, pulling violently backward. She shrieked in agony. I grabbed her arms while Mark swung a tire iron blindly toward the back seat. For one horrifying second, I saw the creature clearly. Its body looked melted together from multiple people, faces constantly pushing outward beneath translucent skin. Human teeth lined its entire neck. And its eyes were mirrors. I saw my own terrified reflection inside them. Then I noticed something worse. The reflection wasn't copying me. It moved differently. My reflected self was smiling. The creature opened its mouth impossibly wide, and dozens of voices came out together. You left us there. Mark smashed the tire iron into its face. The thing shrieked and disappeared backward into the rain. Run! Mark yelled. We stumbled out of the SUV into the storm. The abandoned gas station stood beside a dark forest. Most of the building windows were shattered. Lightning illuminated the road behind us. and my blood froze completely. People stood across the highway, dozens of them, motionless, watching us. Every single one wore Mickey Mouse ears. Rain poured down their faces while they smiled unnaturally wide. Children, adults, employees, all staring silently. Then slowly, every single head tilted at the exact same angle. Together, Chloe started screaming again. The crowd suddenly began walking toward us. Not running, walking, slowly, like they knew we had nowhere left to go. Mark grabbed my arm hard. Inside, he shouted. We ran into the abandoned gas station and slammed the doors shut. The crowd stopped outside beneath the rain, still smiling, still watching. Then one of them stepped forward. A little girl wearing a Disneyland hoodie. Her face looked pale and waterlogged, and when she spoke, her voice came out in Leo's exact tone. You were supposed to stay on the ride. The little girl smiled through the rain. You were supposed to stay on the ride. Her voice sounded exactly like Leo's. Perfectly exact. Same softness, same rhythm, same tiny crack in the middle of certain words. My entire body went numb. Outside the gas station windows, the crowd stood perfectly still beneath the storm. Their Disneyland ponchos fluttered lightly in the wind while their smiles never changed. Mark locked the front door with shaking hands. It found us again, he whispered. The lights inside the gas station suddenly flickered weakly. Buzz, buzz. Then came that melody, soft humming, from somewhere inside the building. Chloe grabbed my arm immediately. We're not alone. The humming drifted slowly through the aisles. Closer, then farther again, like something circling us. Mark tightened his grip on the tire iron. They travel through reflections, he whispered. Mirrors, glass, anything that can hold an image. Lightning flashed outside. For a split second, every window became a mirror. And in each reflection, the crowd outside looked different. Not human. Tall black shapes wearing stretched human skin loosely over their bodies. Their smiles hung too low. Their arms bent backward. And standing among them was Leo, the real Leo. Bloody hands pressed desperately against the inside of the reflection, screaming silently. Then darkness returned. The windows looked normal again. I nearly collapsed. He's alive, I whispered. Mark looked horrified. No, yes. I saw him. Mark slowly shook his head. That's how they lure you. The humming suddenly stopped. Silence filled the gas station. Then, a voice whispered directly beside my ear. Sarah, I spun around screaming. Nobody there. But the refrigerator glass beside me fogged slowly from the inside. Words appeared. Not him. My breathing became ragged. Then another message appeared beneath it. Look behind you. I turned slowly, and my heart stopped. Chloe stood motionless in the center aisle, facing away from us. Her body twitched unnaturally every few seconds. Chloe, I whispered. Very slowly, she turned around. Except her face turned first. Her neck twisted far beyond human limits before the rest of her body followed. Crack, crack. Her smile stretched too wide. Black liquid leaked from the corners of her mouth. Mark whispered, Oh God. Then Chloe spoke in two voices at once. We found the right one. The lights exploded. Darkness swallowed everything. Screaming erupted inside the gas station. Shelves crashed over. Glass shattered everywhere. I ran blindly through the darkness while hearing wet footsteps chasing me between aisles. Then suddenly, bright carnival music blasted around me. I froze. The gas station was gone. I stood back inside Phantom Manor. Dusty chandeliers swung overhead. The air smelled sweet and rotten. Doom buggies rolled silently beside me through darkness. And every buggy was occupied, not by tourists, by copies. Thousands of them. Perfect, smiling imitations of people, all staring at me. The ride speakers crackled softly. Welcome back, Sarah. The voice sounded cheerful, inhumanly cheerful. A doom buggy stopped beside me. Its door slowly opened. Inside sat Leo, or something wearing Leo. His hollow black eyes locked onto mine. You finally remember, he whispered. I backed away trembling. No, you stayed outside, he said softly. But something else wanted to leave. More doom buggies emerged from darkness around me. Inside, each one sat different versions of me. Some smiling, some crying, some horribly mutilated. One version of me had no eyes. Another had its jaw hanging loose. All of them whispered together, Choose. The floor beneath me suddenly shook violently. A second track emerged from darkness below the first one, descending deep underground, far deeper than the real ride should ever go. Screams echoed from below. Not dozens, thousands. And then I saw them. The real people, trapped behind enormous mirrors lining the underground track, banging desperately against the glass. A horrifying underground world stretched endlessly beneath Phantom Manor. A factory, not a ride. A place where things learned human faces and replaced them. I saw Mark trapped behind one mirror, screaming silently. Another mirror held Chloe, crying blood. Then I saw myself, the real me, pressing both hands desperately against the glass. My mind shattered. If I was standing here, then who was trapped inside the mirror? The fake Leo smiled gently. They never copy perfectly, he whispered. That's why the memories rot first. Behind him, something enormous moved in the darkness below the second track. A gigantic shape made from thousands of twitching human bodies fused together. Its countless mouths hummed the Disneyland melody endlessly. The entire underground tunnel vibrated as it moved closer. The fake Leo extended his hand toward me. Come home. Suddenly, someone grabbed my arm violently from behind. I screamed and turned. It was Leo, the real Leo, bleeding, terrified, human. Don't listen to them, he shouted. The creature below roared. Mirrors began cracking everywhere. The copies inside the doom buggies started screaming in rage. Leo dragged me toward an emergency exit staircase. Behind us, the fake versions of ourselves crawled from the doom buggies on all fours. Fast, smiling. The giant creature beneath the tracks rose upward through darkness, revealing endless human faces fused into its flesh. Its voices thundered together. N01 leaves the ride. Leo shoved me toward the exit door. Run. But what about you? He smiled sadly. And for the first time in weeks, it felt real. Sarah, he whispered softly. If you make it out, don't trust reflections. Then the copies grabbed him. Hundreds of hands dragged him backward into darkness while he screamed my name. I slammed the emergency door shut and ran upward blindly. Behind me, Phantom Manor shook violently. The screams became deafening. Then suddenly, silence. I burst outside into cold night air. Disneyland looked completely normal. Fireworks exploded beautifully over the castle. Families laughed nearby. Music played softly. Everything looked safe. Normal. I collapsed crying near the popcorn cart outside Phantom Manor. Exactly where they had found me before. A park employee rushed toward me. Miss? Are you all right? I looked up shakily, and my blood froze. The employee was Leo. Perfectly normal. Perfectly clean. Smiling warmly. Miss? He asked gently. You look like you've just seen a ghost. Then he leaned closer and quietly whispered in two voices, Welcome home. If you enjoyed this nightmare, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. Who really escaped Phantom Manor? And tell me, if you had entered that second ride, would you ever trust your own reflection again?